Hey everybody, it's Brian Poth from the Source LGBT Plus Center. We're super excited today, grinning ear from ear. We have Aydian Dowling here with us. Hi Aydian.
Hey.
And Spencer Salazar, our trans program coordinator. I am just giddy with excitement. I'm gonna just hand this over to Spencer because I know Spencer has lots of questions. But we're just so grateful for all the work that you do in the community, for who you are and your example and all your awesome merch. So I just want to say that too. But I just wanted to say thank you for joining us. I know that you're really busy and it really means a lot to us.
Oh, that's sweet. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate you. The sun is coming out for this.
There we go.
It's so cloudy. It's starting to peek out right now.
And where are you right now, Aydian?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
The cool part of Texas.
Yeah, the only part of Texas. Pretty sure this is this is it, right?
That's it. Yeah.
So this was Texas.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, no, I'm beyond excited right now to be able to have you here in our space and just be able to meet you virtually. Just preface of things, I started my transition 4 years ago, and when I was doing the whole Google search, you were one of those that popped up, and it just really stuck with me. And I really want to talk about how it's been for you as a trans influencer, YouTuber, and just kind of your journey that you've gone through with it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think the thing that's becoming more unique about my journey to influencing, which is a word that I've only just recently got comfortable with, because I think it has I don't know, but I feel for me, I didn't try to do anything. A lot of people, they try to be an influencer, which is fine, right? They try to be a YouTuber. Right now it can be a job, and it is a job for many people. And for me, however, I started making videos on YouTube 10 years ago, before there were recommended videos. I mean, Tyler Oakley, nobody was anybody. YouTube was more of video streaming wasn't even really a thing yet either, right? So we're talking 2009. So for me, it was I was just looking for a resource, found a very small amount of people who were kind of sharing their journey in this very niche. If YouTube was YouTube was an old library that nobody went to unless you had something very specific you wanted to look for. And so even putting, you'd have to really be looking for transgender men to find me. So it kind of felt pretty safe, based on now, where it's everyone's oh my gosh, you put it on YouTube, everyone can see it. So yeah, I think that's kind of more of the different side of my story, which I think a lot of people now are very aware of social media. They know how it could be used for good, how they could potentially, make money off of it, right? I mean, socials with everything now. So so yeah, that's the little different part of, I think, where I started.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's kind of, I've watched a lot of those videos as you transition through, and just that development of yourself. But I feel the underlying message has always been being authentic. That's always been your message, is to be you, be yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing you can tell the community as a whole. But you even started your own company, which, I mean, starting a business is a big deal. Do you want to talk about your company, 0.5cc, and why you started that?
Yeah. So I started 0.5cc back. Apologies. There's of course, some people doing some yard lawn work out right outside my door. Is it better to talk over it? Is it better to mute it out? Right?
Yeah, no, we can hear you fine.
Okay.
Barely hear the yard.
Okay, great, because it's just awkward for me. So then I'm screaming. So I'm great. So yeah, I started my clothing company 0.5cc in 2012. So I came out as transgender in 2009. I started early 2009. I medically transitioned in late 2009, and by 2012 it was kind of at this point in my transition for myself and my own personal journey that I really I had a lot of dysphoria with my chest, and so I really needed top surgery. And of course, it's still not covered by all insurances right now, and coverage is not great, but it is covered by some now, which is really nice to know. But back in the day, it wasn't covered by anything. And the surgeon that I happened to live closest to, which really was honestly, it was the only option, and I got very, very lucky that it was a really good option, because they were only a 3-hour drive. Otherwise, I probably, I would have just went to whatever surgeon was near me. And the price of the surgery was just around the $6,000 mark, and I was 23 or 24. I did not have $6,000. I think I made like $500 a week, which was really, I felt like I was doing okay. But then seeing this price point of surgery, it was just like, this is never going to happen the way that I'm currently doing it, making money. And so I just started taking up more hours. I started doing all of the things that most people do, right? Like I was asking friends, like, hey, like, can I help you do something for $20? Can I, right? I was a trained cake decorator and pastry chef. So I was like trying to make and sell cupcakes. So pretty much what happened was, I had been seeing some people. I'd been seeing shirts like, like the gay is okay shirts. And I thought that was cool. Like I had, it was 2012. I feel like, people were getting more and more loud and proud as as the 2000s rose, people got more out, more loud, more proud, especially after, the 90s. I think people just started banding together. And what I didn't see was any representation of the T. I saw tons of LGBT, even more some queer, but not any transgender, very specific transgender stuff. So I wanted to continue with my messaging, which was like, I coming out as trans saved my life, and I'm not going to go back into the closet now just because the society might not see me as a cis man or whatever, right? And as much as it might hurt to know, and the dysphoria I feel, not being born cis, it was like this moment of accepting that like this journey could be really beautiful, even though it's not what I thought it was going to, what I had originally wished it was, because I had spent a portion of my transition and coming out as trans really just wishing I was cis, which didn't make me feel good ever. And once I started embracing that I was trans and that there will be things that I can't change and that might always hurt, but at the end of the day, like there is a beauty to being trans. And so that's why so I started a t-shirt company called 0.5cc, and I started selling the shirts to raise money for my top surgery. And so initially, no longer, but I was hand printing everything. I bought like a silk screen press and just was printing everything myself. I was like, someone would buy a shirt for $20. So I would get the $20 on my PayPal. Then I would take my PayPal card and I would go to Walmart and I'd buy a shirt. But like, you know what I mean? I'd go buy a shirt for $5. Then I would go home. Then I would print the shirt. Then I would put it in like old, like people who bought some of the first shirts ever, they were in like old wrapping and boxes that I had gotten mailed to me for things. And I was just like repackaging and shipping them. And at the time, like I could ship a shirt in a used package again before there was, I don't even think there was like priority shipping like there is now in the boxes,
Right.
and I could ship something for like $2.19. So I would come home with this like $12 or $13 margin of take home. And so between the extra shift and hours and just little things I could do here to make some extra money, I was able to, and I have to also say, being on YouTube and stuff, there were people who like donated $50, donated $100, so I have to give props to those people too. And yeah, and so I was able to start a company, and the first design was a Superman symbol, but there was a T in it.
Yeah.
And that was my favorite design because it was like it represented like strength and power in being trans, and that was one of the very first times I had ever seen that available to people. And so it was really empowering for me as well. So it was pretty cool.
Well, I think it's empowering for those who wear it too, because I know for myself, like shameless, like I own way too many things from that site. But it's like I kept going back to them because I'm like, it was kind of this like symbol of like strength for me. Like, here's my identity for myself here on my shirt, and it's like I'm not going to be afraid to be myself and live my truth. So I think that's really awesome. And like you're such an entrepreneur. You started that business, and then a few years later, you go on and start a nonprofit. And
Yeah.
you have done so much with that nonprofit, and it's inspired, I know, us here at The Source. Like, we just this year started our own binder program. And a big part of why we started that program was from what I've seen you do with Point of Pride, which, once again,
Beautiful.
that entrepreneur spirit of like, almost 9,000 binders out to people, hitting 80 plus countries, like helping people with access to surgery funds. Like, that I'm assuming it's inspired by the work you've done, with your clothing company.
Yeah, no, I mean, actually, no, I appreciate all of that, Spencer. And, we actually haven't announced it yet. So this is the first time announcing it. We just gave away our 10,000th garment, which is really exciting. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So, as you said, Spencer, a lot of them are binders. That's the program we've had running the longest. But we also do have a tucking garment program. So some of those numbers are now part of our tucking garment program, which we work with a trans-owned Origami Customs.
Okay, yeah.
We have an agreement with them, and we provide, we pay them, and they mail us the gaps, and then we mail them out. So that program started, I would say, about between a year or two. And you're right. That's the base of the nonprofit started from that. So I knew that when people bought a T-shirt from me, they were not just buying so the entrepreneur in me knew that I couldn't just start a GoFundMe because, well, I had tried, and it wasn't called GoFundMe, it was called something else, but I had tried and failed. I'd done all these other things that were failing, and I had this T-shirt idea that seemed to be working. And through the failures, I had learned that the only way, like, I need to give something. Because I thought of I honestly just thought of like this Susan, the breast cancer. It's like people will buy like something very basic, like a can opener that's light pink, because they know a portion will go to that cancer research.
Yeah.
So I kind of was thinking like, okay, well, people are going to be more willing to give me their money if they can have something back. Like if they can say, okay, here's this, now give me that, right? So I was like, okay, well, if I make them a T-shirt, then they can have the T-shirt, they can give me the money, I can, and we both kind of win, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so when people bought a T-shirt, they weren't buying, and I wasn't selling it like I have a clothing company. It was very much like I'm making T-shirts for my top surgery. So people who bought them, right, they were investing in my future with their money, and that felt really powerful, and really I felt a sense of responsibility to be able to pay forward. If they're going to pay for my surgery, well, I better do something really good in this world because these people helped me in my life. And so I started doing binder giveaways, which if you bought a T-shirt, you could sign up to get a free binder. And that was again. So it was all full circle. It was like guys would get, and I say guys and non-binary trans-masculine people would get their top surgery. Then they would have these old binders and they were burning them. And I was like, I saw dollar bills just, and like the tears of trans mask people that who can't afford binders. And so I was like, listen, I had gotten some binders from old friend Chris, and back in the day, and he gave me like 10 binders. He was like, give them away. And so I was like, okay, well, binders are like $60. If you buy a shirt, you get a free binder. and the money goes to my surgery. So you get a shirt and a binder. Money goes to my surgery, and then I gave the opportunity for other people who had gotten top surgery to donate back to their old binders, so that then I can mail them out and kind of keep this cycle going. And I say, I keep saying guys, because that was and is mostly the people that I reach, is trans men and trans masculine identified people, and then the people who love and support them. So of course, when we talk about this, is open to anybody who would feel that these procedures and these garments are made for them and help them in their daily life. But that's where the whole program started. And so on top of the binders, I also was giving a portion of the proceeds away at the end of each year. So the first few years, it was just like, I think the first year was like $400. The next year was 1,000. Then it was 1,200. And then it was like 800. And then we started the nonprofit, and we started really being able to get grants and really bring in more money. And I started the nonprofit solely because I was offered $5,000 to give away, but I could not accept it because I wasn't a nonprofit. Right. So I was like, it is time. Like I can't, right. Like $5,000, that's somebody's surgery.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to let that go to the wayside when I'm literally doing what a nonprofit would do.
Right. No,
I have like, I don't know if it's a question. I guess it's a question. So I'm hearing you say like, you're doing all of this work, right? You're doing all of this work. You're trying to come up with money for your top surgery, but you're actually creating something that didn't exist before, and you're helping other people in the process. Did that sort of take your mind off of like yourself, because you're focusing on this other sort of mission-driven thing that morphed out of like just a need to fund your own stuff.
Right.
Now you're helping all these people. I can imagine it built a community that for you that kind of just didn't exist before, because you're a trailblazer. In my mind, like there was no one on YouTube doing what you were doing. There was this didn't exist before. So I guess the question,
you're right, Ryan.
Take your mind off of what you had coming up, or your fears, or your nervousness.
I think the whole thing, the whole reason I started anything was because I was alone and I didn't have anybody who understood me. So when you find work in which you feel selfish doing it because you feel so good doing it, it's work you shouldn't stop doing. And so that's what happens with me, is like, I love to do it so much that it brings me joy, that it's almost like I'm just like, listen, like me helping you, just like literally, that's what makes me feel the best. Like that is why I do what I do, because I just feel good, which is, just I don't know, it's just my makeup, I guess. And that's like, not that I'm a saint or anything like that, but at the end of the day, I do think that most good things that we can do, we feel good about doing. And that's okay to feel, because that's why we do them, right? And if we all feel that goodness, like we just keep doing good things for each other. And Brian, just to piggyback a little bit more of what you were saying, one of the cool things that I see now is or that I have seen over the years, is other people start clothing companies, and other people start giving money back, and other people, realizing that they too can start a company and be provided for from the community, that the community is not we are not our statistics. You know what I mean? We are not the under $10,000 a year people that we're always shown. We're always shown those numbers, and it's like, there are people out there doing really great stuff, and you could be one of those people. And so that's what I now that's a lot of what I just try to show. Right? Like
honestly, it's amazing, because it's like, sometimes we think back, like if we would have known this stuff when we were younger, if we could have understand these things. And so it's like, I do work with a lot of trans youth, and it's very rewarding to just be that resource. Like it doesn't feel like work, because I feel happy doing the work, And so, on your YouTube as well, you talk to not only the trans community, but like their family, the parents, like spreading that message of like love and acceptance, you know, and you're a parent yourself, you know,
Yes.
and I think that can be
Did
very
you tell? Did you tell?
but it's just, I think for a lot of people, they don't think that's in their future, you know, that that is an option for them. And it's like living that authentic self and living your life in the way you want to. Like, how is like being a dad, like, changed who you are? I'm sure because it has.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, being a dad's awesome, and I think a lot of people with like an entrepreneur spirit, like you don't have to be an entrepreneur to have the same gung ho spirit. I think we really thrive on this concept that like I'm gonna do it, and people are like, and you're just like, no, like I'm gonna do it, and like we fail and we succeed and we do all these things, and that's what fatherhood was to me. Was like I'm gonna do it. Like I transitioned my entire life. I put my relationships on the line. I put, at different times I've put my mental health on the line, and the to live the life that I want. And 99.9% of all trans people, we want some basic life living. Like we just want married, maybe not. Kids, maybe not. Like house, 2 cats, a dog. Like we want a job that we can actually afford our health care, afford our groceries, go on, like be safe on vacations. Like we want some of the most plain stuff that people want.
Right.
And so, I use that like almost anger and annoyance that I feel for the people who want to repress and not allow that to happen for trans people, to just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to do everything then. Like, I'm just going to show up everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's what, that's kind of what I try to do. And like a lot of the messages, Spencer, that I've been getting lately are about fatherhood. And I have a balance, because I'm like, sometimes I like show my kid a lot, and then I'm like, oh, like, I want there to, sometimes I never know, because sometimes, when you're with your kid and then you're trying to make content, you're not with your kid.
Yeah.
So you'll probably see like I bounce back and forth between like I'm pretty heavy on the content, and then I'm like, oh, let me chill out. I feel like I'm not actually with my son. I'm just taking pictures of my son. But yeah, I mean, what's changed me, I think, like I don't know if it's possible, like, okay, not to compare, but there's such like you can't be selfish. Like I never noticed how selfish I was when I had a baby, and not selfish as in like I want everything, da da da, just like anything. I'm just like, well, I always do it this way. Well, it can't be done that way. Okay. Well, I like to do it here. Well, that doesn't happen. Okay. And then eventually you turn into a kid and you're just like, well, I want this and I want this now. And, so I think like just realizing what my real needs are. What do I really need? Not what do you want? What do you think you need? What's in your morning routine? Like, no. What do you need that you do every day that's actually going to make you sustainable? You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like it's fun. It's definitely like a fun, especially in quarantine.
I would say, how's the family been surviving quarantine?
Yeah, well, I definitely feel like we're less bored.
Yeah. He keeps you on your toes, I bet.
All the things.
All the things. Oh, that's amazing.
I just want to say how powerful like the visibility is. The fact that kids can see themselves in a future, like parenthood is not something that a lot of folks are talking about even in just the LGBT community. Like forget the T, like don't forget the T, but like lesbian cis folks aren't even talking about it, because we've been so programmed to think that we're just lucky to exist. If we get to live, right, we've won. And that's not okay anymore. And so for you to be so open and be so such a great role model for young people about parenthood, like that's powerful. Like if you can see it, then you can be it. And so the fact that you did it without that seeing it before is incredible, because you didn't have a template. You weren't copying anybody. You're like,
right. Well, I mean, like, it's like, of course there's trans guys who have babies and there's trans families, right? But the accessibility, are they within the content that you consume? Is the algorithm showing you them? Do you know them, right? Like, so it's like the accessibility to those people who are being visible, right, is going to be in so many different ways in which you digest content and find things. But I mean, honestly, like, what was I following? I was following the dynamic I had when I was identifying as a lesbian, and what the lesbian community taught me as a female-bodied person who loves other female-bodied people, right? So, it was kind of like, that's those, which is another reason why I'm very connected to, my past as a trans person. I'm not somebody who, will, I don't identify with the feelings of like, I've been trans my whole life, because I feel like I didn't know I was trans. So I didn't live my life as if I was trans, knowing that this was going on. Doesn't mean I wasn't actually trans my whole life, but it means that I didn't express or live in a way in which I knew that I was. So to me, knowing or not knowing is fairly irrelevant, right? Because I was raised as a young girl. So, so yeah, it's interesting because there's so many overlaps within all the LGBTQ things that I think we try to act like we're so separate. Like, we try to act like, like, oh, GLBTQ, like we're all so separate. And it's just like, we are so mixed together. It's almost funny that we try to separate ourselves, because it's like, you're like trying to, like, it's like being, a bunch of bananas, and one of the bananas is like, I'm not part of this group, and you're like, honey, we're literally tied together. Right, exactly.
Well, I know we were talking to you earlier before we got on, like, there's this thing that's, popping up on Instagram right now that's actually really exciting to think about. Do you want to, I know you didn't start it, but you've been sharing about it, kind of helping it gain some momentum. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. I need to find out who, like, I made a reel about it today, because Trans Santa. Trans Santa is it's a Instagram page in which you can go to the page, and trans youth, I believe they're 18 and under, but they may do a few older ages. So transgender youth who are, low income, unable to have access to the joy that is the holiday season and the gift giving season. So they make their Christmas list for Santa. And you can go on and literally you see it, Brian. Yeah, you just go on. You go straight. Yeah, you can go. It's very simple. You just click on the list, click on the link, and then you literally can buy a toy, or like there's paints and all different types of things. Things from, some people are asking for vitamins, you know what I mean, and food. Some people are asking for paints and paintbrushes. I mean, it's really cool. And I know that Chase Strangio has something to do with it, but I don't know all the details. But I mean, that's what I'm about, though. Like that. Yeah. See that page, like, when I look at that page, I'm like, that is a wholesome page. Like, that is people who just saw something, they saw a need, and they found that they can be the middle person to that need, and do something as simple as this. And the amount of gifts and the amount of money that these kids are going to get, because somebody was just like, I can make an Instagram page and set them up with a Target registry and have it mailed to their house. I mean, not that it's not any work. Those people are putting in a lot of work, and so much respect to that. But
because that registry process is no joke.
Right.
We tried to order more than 3 gift cards yesterday online, and it was like, took 3 hours.
Right.
It can't be that hard to email people.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's hard work.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just very cool, and yeah, just something definitely to check out. I mean, it's really beautiful.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that's what's so great about the community as a whole. Like, we definitely are that kind of people. I think that we see the need, we feel the need, which is great, because I think for so many that they've struggled through life, they've struggled through their transition, and that they don't want to see others struggle. They want to help build each other up, which
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I love so much about our community and the people that I work with is just that like unconditional love for one another and just helping each other live life, you know? And I guess just really to wrap things up, like, is there anything we should expect coming in the next year from you? Like anything?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been really, you may have seen, I've been really like vibing into, well, I guess two things. So the first thing is I've been doing some fitness coaching, but I've transitioned it into life fitness coaching. And that's because of pretty much the pandemic. Speaking was my main sense of revenue, and that's not really gathering of people. It's not really happening now. So what I did is I took the time during all of this and I really went like peeled back like what brings me the most joy, what about speaking in front of people is really the joyful thing, and it's the connecting with people, and it's the hearing of the stories, and it's the seeing people over and over at conferences and hearing them, not find a partner, then they found a partner, then now they're getting married, now they're doing this, like all these cool things. And so I put some resources together and was like, life coaching and is a great way in which I can still connect with people. Aside from, of course, all the social media and all of the free stuff I do, right? More on a one-on-one deep level. So that's something new. You can Instagram, find all the information there. But then the other thing is that you may have seen I've been diving into some pastry cake stuff
I
lately.
saw your cupcakes you made with
Yes.
those,
So
those look good.
yeah, they were good. Not gonna lie.
Diving into
So,
pastries sounds amazing.
yeah, exactly. Yes, it is. So you'll be seeing a little more stuff around that, doing a little projects surrounded with that. So it should be fun. Honestly, I've been just trying to make stuff that's fun. Just have a
I
good time.
honestly feel like you should just have a reality show. Like,
There. All right.
not
Yeah.
that would be super fun to participate in, but it would
Right.
be amazing to watch.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so if anyone's watching this, any of my friends in LA, yeah, give Aydian a call. Yeah, because I would totally like want to just be a fly on the wall and watch you do all of this stuff. I can't imagine. So
Yeah. Well, I'm
I
sure
know.
that
Probably
everyone
not.
has,
It's probably not fun.
all the other parents at home, that they probably relate.
Yeah.
Well, I just personally, I want to say thank you so much for all you've done, not only for me, but the whole trans community as a whole, their families, just allies, everybody, just the amount of time you put into educating people and being true, honest, and authentic to yourself and to everyone that you meet. Like, it's inspiring. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us here in our virtual space. And hopefully one day, post COVID, we can actually meet in real life one day. So
Yes.
thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Spencer. Thank you, Brian, and everyone. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, everybody.